Hey Truth Team, Amanda here. I have an important lesson for you today, and it's about expression versus suppression. And if you can unravel this in your mind and come to terms with this knowledge, then it will help you to unravel the virus, myth, the germ theory, impossibilities, and help you to understand when a disease process is working through you, how to manage it better and how to allow it to resolve and put the body back into homeostasis. Unfortunately, we've had very nefarious and dark-minded, criminal-minded individuals who begun the chemical medicine cartel well over 150 years ago. The Rockefeller, Carnegies, Morgan, all of these barons who were very wealthy, and they saw an opportunity to capitalize on not only our belief systems and how we approach health and the medicine that we use, but also politically is a method to control populations, to control all sorts of activities, human, animal, you name it. So this is the conspiracy, if you will. I don't like that word, but true conspiracy is when you have conspirators who come together and create a plan to do something, and that's what this was. If you just look up the Flexner report, you will see that that was calculated as far as suppressing cancer cures and also removing the freedom, health freedom from people so that they cannot make decisions for their own health, that now you must appeal to an authority in order to find out anything about your body, except the problem is those authority figures are run through a mill that is set up like a cult, and the cult doctrine must not be questioned. And so there is the same sort of cult-like behavior in medical institutions, denial of side effects. If a vaccine kills your child, they'll gaslight the parents. And all of these behaviors has got us to here, while these same interests with very much power and money and clout and lobbyists have slowly infiltrated every level of our society and have purchased boards, politicians, all types of fundraising entities for their own aims, and it's all the same aim. And I feel sorry for people who have no ability to research this and to understand that this has been the case for a very long time. But here we are with the main result of their agenda before us, and it always is to use fear to push politics in a specific direction so that we ask for our own enslavement. Now, the interesting thing about suppression versus expression is that it works on both the macrocosm and the microcosm. For example, we're seeing a lot of protests right now about, the situation with this viral hoax. And a lot of people are catching on that this is a big lie. So we see across the world very many protests. And this is because the people have been suppressed. They have been, their normal natural actions and activities have not been allowed to occur. You can only do that for a limited amount of time before the expression does a workaround that particular suppression. So that's a perfect example of how it works on the macrocosm. On the microcosm, what we have is a body that needs to clean up debris, remove toxic waste from the body. It has growth processes, repair processes, and communication systems, as well as electrical systems that are not just hormonal communication, but electrical communication in the body. And when any of these are damaged or compromised, that's an important action must be taken to repair that, to ensure that that is optimized. If you are living a lifestyle where you are continually putting things inside of your body or on your body that is counterintuitive to nature, so it is something that the body deems not important to its health, let's say, or is actually pro-inflammatory or damaging to its health, it must now take action upon that to ensure its removal and then repair whatever that particular thing did. So if it caused inflammation of tissue, it needs to repair the tissue. If it caused a deficiency in a specific nutritional molecule, a vitamin, mineral, etc., then it must seek that out and find that, or make it if it can. These are very basic principles and understanding of the body, of life. And if the suppression is continued by using something that is suppressive, like a drug, like a vaccine, those actions are not allowed. So understand that the chemical medicine has come in as a suppressive answer. So it has mistaken life, or it has assumed arrogantly so that life is stupid and it doesn't know what to do. It doesn't know how to heal. Your body doesn't know how to heal itself. And it's made doctors as gods. So therefore, take the knowledge away from the people of their own bodies and give it into the hands of a cult that will tell you what to do with your body. And when they do that, they're tricking you into thinking, with the magic that they do, that if they make the symptom go away, they have cured you. And what they have done with their magic show is they have convinced you that the symptom itself is the disease. This is a fundamental flaw in the ideology and the philosophy and the cult-like belief system that has been indoctrinated into the frontline drug pushers, because they're not doctors, they're drug pushers. And they believe that we must tinker with the human body in order to make it work properly. They have taken the divine out of the equation, and they have also taken the unseen out of the equation. They have taken the frequencies, the fields, the inner subtle energy bodies completely out of the picture, because that cannot fit into their paradigm, you see. So they have, here's the paradigm, you have a symptom bad, we take a drug, suppress symptom go away, we cure you, you good, bye. That's their thinking. Like, it's a very, very imbecilic form of thought. It is a very dumbed down or weakened, non-intelligent, non-enriched type of thinking. It is completely divorced from reality and from nature, okay? But this has been going on for generations. So you have deep levels of cognitive dissonance when it comes to facing reality, which is troublesome on many levels. But if you can understand that the whole system was designed in that light to identify a symptom as a cause of a disease, so that symptom is the cause, the symptom, that's the disease, and we suppress it, then we've done our jobs, then you can understand the fundamental flaws. Now, if you can switch that around 180 degrees now in your mind and realize that it's the exact opposite, that expression is healing, and expression is what the body naturally wants to do to correct itself, okay? Then you can start to think more clearly about what's going on in our world right now and what to do when you start to see something in your own body. For example, a symptom of the body removing specific waste through the lung tissue would be phlegm, would be inflammation, and would be a fever. You would cough, you would sneeze, you would do what would be required by the body to remove that debris. Also, the body would create cells and would also bring to life the microbes that actually do the job of breaking down the tissue that is no longer viable. If it cannot repair the tissue, then it will apoptose or destroy the tissue and make it anew. And you can think of the analogy of a construction site, and there are plenty of workers there that come in with their materials to build. However, there's a building already on the site, so they have to remove that building before they can build a new one. Now imagine all of the wastes and debris and materials that will have to be taken away first before the new building can be built, and all of the workers and different kinds of tradespeople that are involved in doing that job correctly. So that's a good analogy to think about what's happening in your bodily process when you are so-called sick. If you have that bodily process going on in the liver, you will have a different set of symptoms. If you have that bodily process going on in the brain, you will have a different set of symptoms. Depending on the histology, that will dictate the pathology. It will dictate exactly how the body is going to work with that particular tissue type and what it will produce and what it will remove in order to get the job done. So that helps you in your mind simplify the processes, all right? It's always going to be the same thing again and again and again. You're going to see tissue injury, which means repair. You're going to see an exudate or removal of waste, whether it comes out through an orifice, whether it comes out through the skin, whether it comes out through the breath. Any of the routes of elimination can and may be used. And that will be independent depending on your specific nutrition level and your susceptibilities, your genetic dispositions, and what of those epigenetic gene centers have been switched on by stressors. Again and again, it's the same thing, okay? There are many stressors, obviously, and we're seeing more and more of those every day. And so we're seeing sicker and sicker people every day because of this cult completely ignoring the obvious, like electromagnetic fields causing damage to the body, which we have thousands of papers on. We have tons of evidence of this to be the case. We see the poisoning from all of the different spraying that they're doing in our skies, the weather manipulation that they are doing. Again, lots of evidence of geoengineering happening. Very easy to look up, very easy to research. That contains barium and aluminum particulates and other such nonsense that's being sprayed down upon us. We have the spraying of our food and the also genetic tinkering of our food, which is not natural, which causes inflammation, causes debris to be made in the gut. And the gut has a brain, so we have a gut brain. So if your gut is out of alignment, so too will your brain. And so your cognition will be affected by your gut. We also have assaults from basically birth with vaccines, which completely cause a derangement of the communication systems in the body and immediately poison it before it even has any of its defenses set up properly. We also have stress in the terms of the way that the world is set up. Obviously, emotional stress, mental stress, physical stresses, all of these things to contend with, to deal with, traumas. And those all affect the chemical milieu of the body and can create an acid or acidic terrain. And when the blood is not in its correct acidity, it causes a change, a pleomorphic change in the somatides, microzyma, the red blood cell membrane, and that will produce more fungal forms. Hyphae will come from there and will link up, and that can lead to things like cancer. So we have the understanding that when we are poisoning the body, we're going to create problems. For example, another stressor, another chemical problem that I see a lot of people doing, and they're very confused about why they're ill, is simply using synthetic perfumes in their laundry detergent, in their dryer sheets, in their in their perfumery, in the things they plug into their houses and spray in their houses. And this chemical will absorb through the skin. The skin is a two-way street. You'll breathe it in, it'll go into your tissues, and then again, you're asking your body to deal with that. If you are eating pro-inflammatory foods, or foods that are wrong for you, particularly your body type, then that also can cause inflammatory responses, which can lead to disease. So I'll hear people say, oh, well, this person eats well and exercises and they still got sick. Well, that's a nice idea, but obviously they're doing something wrong or they wouldn't get sick. So maybe you think that when they eat the things that you think are healthy, that you believe are healthy, like maybe dairy, maybe you think dairy is really healthy, but for that individual who's eating dairy, it's very pro-inflammatory for them. So they're actually putting themselves in a chronic state of inflammation. Maybe they drink and you think having, 5 to 10 glasses of wine a week is perfectly acceptable, but it's a class 1 carcinogen and does liver damage. All of those things, you hear these catchphrases, but it's irrelevant because you don't even know their vaccine status. They could have been vaccine damaged right from a child and have lifelong problems and lifelong sensitivities because of that poisoning. So when you are ill, you have a symptom, say it's pain, and you can't handle the pain, you don't know any other thing to do about the pain, so you take a drug and the pain goes away. That is a suppression. What that does is it tells the nerve, no, don't send that signal. Does it mean that it's gotten rid of the inflammation itself? Usually not. Does it mean that the problem of the source of the pain is suddenly healed? No, it does not. Now, that pain may not come back that round because it gave the body enough time for the inflammation to be dealt with by other avenues, so it can give the appearance that that particular suppression has worked. However, later, another trigger will come, and then the pain will return, and it might be worse. Or, because of the suppression, the situation had affected other nerve systems, or the system has gone into further damage because the drug itself has caused another issue. For example, acetaminophen causing liver dysfunction, being that it decreases glutathione production, which is a master antioxidant that is a component of detoxing your body. And later, little by little, because you are not thinking about it, because you're not calculating it, and because nobody is giving you advice to that direction, you are not noticing the level of damage it's actually doing until, lo and behold, you go and take a test, a liver function, enzyme test, and you are told that you have high enzyme activity, or you have a fatty liver. And you can't possibly understand why that's happened. That is what suppressive medicine does to the body. It can happen quickly. The suppression can actually kill the host, or it can happen slowly where the suppression slowly drains the life force and the resources and brings vitality ever so creepily lower until there's not much left to work with. Expression, on the other hand, has been trained away from us. All the time I hear people who are concerned when they have a symptom come up from a specific bodily process, for example, detoxification action. And I help them to understand that when that is going on, not to panic, and that they can mitigate or manage or moderate the level of expression, because that is what actually a good practitioner should be helping you to do, is to ensure that the expression is not too overwhelming for the host. Maybe about 80 to 90% of the time that's possible. Another 10% of the time is very difficult, because if that individual has continually suppressed the same behavior in the body so many times that there's not much room for forgiveness anymore once you let up on the suppression, then there is no other option but to go through the healing crisis, which can be very extremely uncomfortable, to say the least. Ultimately, you want to avoid getting there. And ultimately, what is unfortunate about this situation is because of the long con and brainwashing and lies that the medical cartel has pushed on all of us through the pharmaceutical industry, through buying up our media, buying up our politicians, putting out on the television, putting out through the newspapers. They have convinced us of these lies. And when somebody has finally come around to realizing that the drugs are just not working, and they come to a practitioner, a holistic practitioner, to heal, they have to do a huge amount of unlearning and realize that taking a pill just because it's an herbal or a homeopathic or whatnot is not necessarily going to magically cure them, because that's not how it works with expression. You can't just do green allopathy, which sadly has been the slow kill method that has happened to my colleagues in the naturopathic profession. They have been etched away over the years into becoming no more than green allopaths, rather than true naturopaths or nature doctors, which understand how to allow the body to express properly and rebalance into homeostasis. And the mind of the participant needs to be adjusted so that they understand the holistic process, and that just taking a pill isn't going to magically make it go away, that they have work to do now, and it could be years of work, and that the real culprit and the real situation has been, in the fault, has been of their white coat practitioner, their doctor, that they've been going to for maybe most of their lives. They've set them up for this problem. And a lot of times the holistic practitioner gets the brunt of that blame. And it's quite unfortunate, because it's certainly not their responsibility or fault. When you need to heal the body properly, when you need to let up the suppression and allow the expression, you're going to see things happen that you think are bad. For example, an AIDS patient, an HIV, so-called HIV. HIV doesn't exist. There's no such virus. There's a particle, actually, that your body makes in response to poisoning. There are a lot of individuals who are diagnosed with HIV with these faulty PCR tests. And what they really have is drug poisoning. They have a lifestyle where they use these amyls, these poisons, these poppers, that actually do specific damage to the body, that creates the need for the body to make these nucleic acid particles, which the ignorant medical community calls viruses, and they then think are the cause of the disease, but it's the result of the disease. that your body actually makes in order to repair the DNA cellular damage that your own behaviors have caused. And what's interesting is, what will you expect if you come off the drugs that suppress the particle? So the drugs suppress your body's making of that particle that is coming in to do the repair. So what do you expect to happen when you go, wow, this is a scam, I hate, this drug is making me feel disgusting, I'm dying from this drug, because that's how they die, and I want to come off of it? What's going to happen? Well, as you should expect, the virus particles will be through the roof, right? Because the body's finally going, oh, thank God, you're finally allowing us to work and fix this problem once and for all, and mobilize things, and make you sleep, and make you have a fever, and make the white blood cell count go up, so we can get this stuff dealt with. And if you're nutritionally rich, meaning you're eating well, and you're also helping the body along by helping its detox processes, then it will be smooth sailing and you will heal. If, however, you aren't nutritionally dense, you are not eating properly, you are doing other things counterintuitive to that behavior, like drinking and smoking and whatnot, and you are in a state, say, of acidosis from stress, then that process can have complications. That process may not finish properly, or the waste processes may not be able to leave the body and will fester. And if that happens, then you will create other particles, other bacterial particles, that will try to then get rid of those wastes, but they also make their wastes. And that can be a vicious cycle that can end in tragedy. And this is what most people don't seem to understand about holistic health. This is why we work with nutrition. This is why we make the terrain strong, so that all the resources are available for the body to remove all of those construction materials without difficulty, without buildup, without secondary problems, which we like to call infections. Are you starting to see now that this is what health is? And it's very simple. If you pollute your body is going to remove the pollution. It needs resources to remove the pollution. And if it doesn't have the resources, it can have complications. However, adding more toxic pollution into a polluted body, suppressing the action of that body, is assured death. This is iatrogenic medicine, iatrogenic death, doctor-caused disease and doctor-caused death. It's done by the suppression. It's done by drugs and vaccines. So you see, here we have a body creating a particular particle. You can call it a virus if you want. It's making the virus because it's actually creating it through the bacteria. Bacteria change form into these particles. And those particles contain nucleic acid in a protein coat, and they're little mini toolboxes. And those get sent to an area of damage in order to repair it. Alternatively, if that is not the requirement of those particular cells, then what will be sent instead is a different combination of proteins that will act as an emulsifier or as a detergent to break down something like a biofilm that is having a lingering effect on the tissue, and it must be removed. Okay? So that is another particle that they are calling a virus. Another particle they're calling a virus is what's called a phage. And a phage is created when your body is under such severe stress and shock that the bacterial lineages, which are good for you, and which your own body makes, they're your own creations, when they cannot survive because of the terrain damage, they will go either in one direction or another, and one of those fast shock directions is called a phage. And what that is, it protects the DNA material of the bacteria so that when the coast is clear, once again, they can send that nucleic acid DNA material into another cell, take over that cell, make more of itself, create a certain cascade effect so that the bacterial lineages can come back once again. So there's a few different particles that they're lumping into viruses. And if you look at how they label the phylogeny of viruses, you will see that there are many different kinds and shapes and sizes. And they talk about mutations all the time. But they're not mutations. They're just different kinds of the same particles in different people. And because we're all slightly different, they're going to all be slightly different, with maybe one base pair different than that base pair and so forth. And they've made an entire industry out of studying these little particles inside our bodies and naming them and putting them in lineages and all sorts of make-work projects that are absolutely, completely irrelevant when it comes to actually helping you heal. The fascinating part about it is that we have this continual insistence that viruses cause disease, that all of these germs are bad for us and dangerous, when they live inside of our bodies. They are part of us. They are us. And they are created as a result of a bodily process, rather than the ideology, the belief system, the false scientism that they cause disease when they don't, and there is no evidence of that. So I want to wrap this up now and thank you for joining me for this understanding of suppression versus expression. And I hope you join me again soon for another lesson. Bye for now.